The best way I can care for you is to care for myself. The best gift I can give you is the gift of my personal development. If I become 10 times wiser, 10 times stronger, 10 times more capable, think of what that will do for our friendship. The first self-interest is to survive. I do an interesting thing now on the instructions given to the first couple, Adam and Eve, after the garden experience. The instructions were, number one, multiply. It's a lonely world with two people. But the second instruction was interesting, and I try to find ways to translate it when I lecture in other countries. And it says to be fruitful or productive. First, you need to produce enough to survive. If a man is by himself and he produces enough for himself, that's called self-care. Then, if he wants to live a higher life, a companion or get married, he now must produce enough for himself and his wife. Somebody says, well, why work that hard when you could just take care of yourself? But that's okay. This is not a moral question. This is a question of, do you wish to live a higher life, a better life? And almost everyone would agree that would be a better life, to be with somebody. But now comes the challenge now to produce enough for two instead of for one. Now they decide to have children. Now the man must figure out a way to produce enough for himself and his family, his children. And the question always is, why do that? Why not just take care of himself? And said, this is self-care. First to survive, then to live a better life. He pays that extra price of producing more than he needs for himself so that he can live a better life. Then the next challenge is that the end of it? And the answer is no. Why wouldn't the man think of ways now to produce more than he needs for himself and his family? And the question is, why work that hard? Why do that? And the answer is to be generous, which is an even higher life. Then I take it two more steps. Why not accept the challenge to produce much more than you need for yourself and for your family? Somebody says, well, that's ridiculous. Why do that? You don't understand. It's to live a higher life. Then I take it one step further, to produce far more than you need. What a way to live. Extraordinary. It's okay to live an ordinary life and a pretty good life, but how about an extraordinary life? To produce far more than you need for yourself and your children. Suppose you make $10 million a year and you and your family only need $3 million. Some families are more expensive than others. But let's say $3 million would pretty well cover most every family. Now you've got $7 million to give, to share. How about that kind of life? It's called extraordinary. To produce more and far more than you need for yourself. It's best to earn some of that early money in lifestyle. Go to the movies. Take 2 vacations instead of 1. Just some little extra things that now the family gets inspired by this new commitment to earning more and becoming more and making the studies and learning the skills and whatever you have to do. Now you make it more worthwhile for the family by thinking of lifestyle changes that now become very exciting. Go to the concert. My parents said, don't miss anything. Don't miss the play, the music, the songs, the performances, the movie, whatever's happening. At age 93, my father, before he died, if you would have called him at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, he wouldn't be home. He's at the rodeo, he's at church, he's at the play, the performance, he's watching the kids play softball at age 93. So he did it as well as taught it. Don't miss anything. So those changes in lifestyle. When I started making some extra money, I opened up an account for my wife, and I called it No Questions Asked Account. And I said, here is the checkbook for a new account, and it's called No Questions Asked. I'll just keep putting money in there, and you spend it for whatever you wish. It was life-changing. It wasn't a fortune, but she didn't have to ask anymore for money, because I could sense that it was a little embarrassing at times when she had to ask me for money. I thought, well, that's not good. So the first time I get a chance, here's what I'm going to do. And sure enough, I did it. No Questions Asked account. You can't believe what that did. It was absolutely amazing. Anything you can think of that helps to change lifestyle is called making a living, but also making a life. Lifestyle, social friendships, church, community, country, all those things that make a composite of our overall life. Start furnishing that with new vigor, vitality, money, whatever it takes to expand your life into what I call the good life, as well as economics. It doesn't take a lot. How much is a movie, right? Even for a person of modest means, $6 or something. Costs $60 million to make it and only costs $6 to see it. Part of it's just simply priority. Less soft drinks, more movies. Everybody's got the money. The story I tell of the lady who invested the dollar and now she's a millionaire. So she had the dollar. Depends on where you put it. Probably nothing more rewarding than conversation. Sometimes you need to be alone. For all of my busy life, from Milan to New York to Paris to Mexico City to the giant cities of the world, I do seek solitude, but only for short periods of time, not long periods of time. But it is important for me to get away, think and ponder and wonder about my life and what's happening, what's going on, where to go from here. But some of the greatest rewards are in personal conversation. I've got some close friends, some mentors that have been around for the last 50 years for me. That couple of hours of conversation, you've got enough to feast on and live on for a while till you can have the next one. But it's easy to be a little too busy to go to lunch with a close friend and not miss it, or spend an evening with 2 or 3 families and enjoy life. How much is a concert? $25, $30, $40? So he says, well, poor people can't afford to go to a concert. No, it's only 8 Coca-Colas. It just depends. So you save up your soft drink money and you do some special things. So lifestyle to live well doesn't cost a fortune. All it costs is paying attention. Then the little dramas. I told a story about calling my father after my mother died. My father lived another 8 years. And he spent 1 more year out on the farm, which I still have up in Idaho, where I make a little wine and grow a few crops and live the good life overlooking the Snake River. But my father spent 1 more year the nights, and then he got a little lonely, and so I got him a place in this little farm village close by, so he could at least go there, spend the night, have breakfast, and then jump in his car and go back to the farm. And then there's a place close by called the Decoy Inn, little cafe, where my father most every morning would have breakfast with the farmers. So I'd call him while he's having breakfast. Just takes 10 minutes. Papa, I'm in Israel. And they'd bring him the phone, and we'd have this conversation. And he'd talk real loud so they could all hear the details. They gave me a reception last night on the rooftop. And he'd say, reception on the rooftop. Underneath the stars, Papa. He says, underneath the stars. So everybody gets in on this little conversation he's having with me. Now he's got a story to tell for the rest of the day. My son called me from Israel, and I know he had to get up in the middle of the night. Makes a much more special day. Only takes 10 minutes. Easy to, easy not to. I'd send him these postcards from around the world, and he'd save them. Show them around. When I'd get back, some of them had a little butter and jelly on them, right, where he'd passed them around at breakfast. Then he'd get to retell the story. I was showing these postcards to my friends, and here's what happened, and here's what they said, and it keeps this lively interchange between father and son going. I took him back where he was born in my motorhome one year. Odessa, Washington. Went to the newspaper office, and he went back into the vaults in this little community, and he found some newspapers dated 1903, when my father was born. So we went through them. No record of his birth. I said, you were born out in the country, Papa. No record of your birth here. Like me, I was born at home. Then we went back to Wheeler, where he last went to school. When they had a place in town, they used to have a dry wheat farm, a couple of 1,000 acres in Moses Lake. But we went back to Wheeler, where he last went to school. He used to arrive early, before the teachers got there, and lit the fires in this old stove, 1 or 2 room school. And it was gone. Tried to locate the place where they might have lived and couldn't find it. It's probably gone. The only thing left in Wheeler was a church and a bar. And my dad says, well, that's a pretty good combination. Get messed up in one place and get straightened out in the other. I said, that's good, Papa. Everybody has a different temperament and personality, and it's something that has to be developed, over a period of time. If you're too shy, you should really learn to push that into a small corner and speak up more. If you're a little too loud, maybe you should, calm down just a little bit. But we shouldn't try to just radically become someone else. But that's what sophistication and civilization is supposed to do, is to make us civil. And to be civil in a civil society, we all must deal with that dark side of our nature, the positive side of our nature. And it isn't that it ever gets done or finished, but that we should suppress those things that would cause us trouble, not only within ourselves, but cause us trouble with someone else. It's a never-ending challenge, but to still always be who you are. But who we are is, you might describe it as dual nature. And the key to life is to become the most of the good in you and the least of the bad. So it's important also to see if you can't work on those things that, are not in your best interest, both in your thinking process and developing your plans for the future, or in your process of working with others, sitting at a conference table or being involved in an enterprise. That's a constant. When some become wealthy now, they have to deal with ego that didn't show its sort of ugly head until, the money was flowing like a river. And now this little gremlin on one shoulder whispers and says, now's the time, right, to, conquer the world and let everybody know you're the master. And sure enough, it can cause all kinds of problems. One of the greatest difficulties of wealth is, handling this issue of ego and keeping it under control. So we need to reveal who we are, but we also need to master the art of who we are presented as our best, as it serves us and our children, as it serves us and our friends, as it serves us in our business. But it is a constant and it never ends. But if we can make a personal appeal to ourselves, I want to constantly work on developing the positive side of my nature and do my best to suppress that darker side that would not allow me to be most of what I can possibly be. I think that's what's important. When a president becomes president, it's interesting, what ego might do. Old Testament says this king came to power and he was a good king. Then the next king came to power and he was a bad king. And that's always happening, whether it's good king, bad king, or whether it's inside of our own head. We all have to deal with that. But you might make this note. It's part of the great adventure.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that speech from Jim Rohn about how to want more for yourself and how to put yourself first and do what is right for yourself and stand behind that. Because the greatest gift that you can give to the world is your own happiness, because when you're happy and you're fulfilled, that pours on to those around you and ripples throughout everyone that comes in contact with you. And you can do so much by inspiring others, by stepping into your own greatness, than you could just telling somebody how to do something or how they should do something. And so it's super important for us to understand these concepts if we're working on bettering ourselves and having an impact on the world. And one of the things that I had to get over early on was I used to have this mentality of to be a martyr is to be righteous, to sacrifice myself and to not want to live over my means. And I had to get over that because it's been hammered into our psyche that money and prosperity is some type of root of all evil. And the way we paint all of the wealthy people in this world has associated money with evil somehow, but evil only amplifies who you truly are and allows you to have the tools necessary to actually do more with your life in the way that you would want to do it. And so if you're a good person and you have money, you're able to do more. I mean, after I got over this concept, I started really chasing my dreams and wanting to live beyond my means so that I could not only support myself, but support those around me. And also I've had the power to help people out when they're in need. I've paid the bills of entire families for certain periods of time to get them through rough patches without overextending myself. And that there's just no greater joy in life than to be able to do that for people, And then another thing that I like that he touches on is that in order to be great and search for our own greatness, we don't have to become something that we aren't. We don't have to become something else. It's about staying in tune with yourself, And the greatest example of this is like when people think that, in order to be successful, you have to be up at 5 o'clock in the morning. You have to beat the sunrise. You have to, be up and at it early in the morning. But sometimes, what if that same person was up being productive into the late night, and maybe they were up till 2 o'clock in the morning, but they were being productive in the late hours of the night? It's like you have to be tuned into your physiology to know who you are. And I don't believe in that type of mentality where, you have to do this in order to be successful. You have to do this. It's like you have to be in tune with yourself and know what times you're productive and how you function at your peak levels and what you need in order to perform at your peak levels for longer, and then build the schedule around that, build your life around that, And so I just think those are really important concepts, and I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe, and we're just going to be featuring some more content like this in the future, and I hope to see you guys later. See ya.
Chẳng được quên khi cơn mưa đêm lại về, em đã quên lời thề và ta như đông chìm sâu, không còn mơ em anh nhận màu. Anh chỉ cần mơ đâu em chỉ còn là những cơn mưa vô giá cho bên mơ em không mơ anh. Anh một đêm mơ chỉ cần bên em không được cần nhớ và chỉ có em không muốn nhớ, và người ta bên nhau như ngã tớ. Muốn nhớ về say em chỉ có mấy em ở đây, và muốn chết đi nhưng không muốn em mãi mãi. Tình yêu làm cho ta đau đầu, không em như mà mơ mộng. Anh như đứa mong cầu và mưa bên em u sầu. Chào các bạn ba em mơ, chỉ có bên em nhưng đừng có mơ. Mà đã ra em muốn bên ai. Anh không mong gì hơn, chỉ mong em sẽ ở đây ôm anh thật gần. Anh chỉ mong đôi ta được có nhau, mà đừng em đâu anh có em. Một đêm bên anh có em, ta sẽ trao nhau môi hôn thật sâu, ôm anh cứ mưa bằng gâu. Và em chỉ nằm đâu, anh không muốn em ở đâu đâu. Một cơn gió thứ anh không mơ cầu, mà không đôi anh mà bên giờ. Anh chỉ là my friend. Em quên đi bao lời hứa, quên đi cả những ngày xưa. Anh chỉ là một đứa, em cứ một chưa. Mà đêm đêm ở đêm, anh nhìn một đôi mà kem, không như là ba trên là thêm, cho em nhiều hơn như là kem. Chỉ cần là mưa thôi, em chỉ cần là mưa thôi, còn ai sẽ là nắng rồi.
told your friend you're not okay, and tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away, as you fade away.
Yeah, I'm about to fade away, cause every time I wake up I feel like it's Monday. Something's going wrong with all the chemicals up in my brain. All of a sudden I don't look at anything the same way. Got a buildup of my thoughts sitting in an ashtray. I'm sorry that I'm so inconvenient, okay. Just let me be me and I'll stay out of your way. I can see the way you look at me, I'm such a disgrace. I never really asked to be brought into this place. You wanna love me? Well then baby have a taste. All the highs and the lows, no you'll never be the same. I don't really wanna hurt you but I can't control the pain. If you're sticking by my side maybe we could be okay. Okay, maybe you could be the change I need today. I promise that I've never felt this way. I really hope that you will choose to stay through all the pain.